I was muted. Yeah. Hi, everyone. And welcome to the Scrassicus Academy. Can you tell I haven't slept for a bit? Anyway, so I'm going to run through a few bits and bobs, and then we're going to dive straight into it, because we left them in a bit of a predicament last week. So, Discord, if you want to come and join our little family over on Discord, we talk TTRPGs, D&D, and it's full of wonderful people, so hop over there. If you want to get into a game, drop Scrat a DM on Twitter. We have 5 viewer games this season. 5 viewer games. And that includes D&D, Ryutama. We've got the D&D is like Ravnica, and you name it, we've got it. And also Cypher system. So if you see the system that we're playing today, because I'm the lovely Monty Cook, we are running a system and a viewer game with it if you want to give it a go. YouTube, this will be up on YouTube very soon, and if you haven't seen the run up to this, definitely go check it out, as they're all in a playlist over there. Patreon, we are now full-time, thanks to you lovely people, and a new thing we're adding to Patreon lately is some of the Zoom chats. So from like Eden last year, we've got some of the Zoom chats saved with all the shenanigans that went on. So that is something we're introducing to the Patreon, along with we still have the free articles, some of them written by the very lovely Renee. We also have merch, which you can get on Redbubble, where they put that Scratchicus Academy shield on literally anything. So please go check that out. We have wonderful sponsors in the form of Bird in the Storm, who wrote Midnight in the World, yes, which we played over Christmas. And we are currently working on something for season 3 with them, all the secrets, and I'm so excited. Also, our other sponsor is Mayhem Press, who created the lovely Dark Matter Alpha, which is the reskin of D&D 5e in space. So for all your space and sci-fi needs, head over there and check that out. Also, for this, like I said, we have a list of trinkets that you can gift/curse our wonderful players here, which does also contribute to the story. We also have one of these every 4 followers and every 10 retweets in the tweet you will see in chat there. Also, thank you, Matthias, for that sub. Let's have a look. I believe you have a reroll to gift to someone of your choice. Oh yes, and the overlay, Lost at Sea, that bodes well. So we are going to head over and say hello to the 2 current survivors that are still going and still fighting their way through this. We're going to start off with the lovely Charlie, who is Cosima. Hello, Charlie.
Hello, Alice.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm good. You?
I'm good. I still have a bit of a nasty cough, so I apologise to stream if I don't get to my mute button quick enough, but I will do my best. Also, if I manage to mute myself and not unmute myself, happens. But yes, I am really excited to be back playing Cypher with you guys. I'm playing Cosima, who is a strong and brawny fisherwoman who has been dragged along to some extent, but also seeking a journey set by the gods to retrieve her husband, who apparently has not been taken by Poseidon. Revelations last session. Who has my husband? Yes, I'm super excited. I'm super strong in this game, not strong in real life, so don't look at me. I'm super strong in this game, and yeah, I'm very excited to get going today.
Awesome, thank you very much. And now we're going to hop over to Shakespeare, or as we know her in this, so the crazy one, basically, Xeraxes.
Yeah. So I'm Shakespeare, and I'm playing Xeraxes, who is basically a Maenad. They are a devout follower of the cult of Dionysus, and are mad. They are very mad, almost as mad as me. But they are very mad, and they are on this quest because they have been given visions from the gods or from messengers of the gods, and they will follow that come hell or high water, even though they hate water and are now on a boat. It's not good. It's not good. No, they don't like
I've now got that Sister Act song. I will follow him.
I will
Follow him, no, here we go. Yep.
Yeah, we could go on. Suddenly musical. So we found our group last time. They headed down to the docks as they realized they had to travel across the water to where the dead reached for the stars and the skies, and they realized they had to travel to Egypt. They found another buff sailor, I think is what we're calling them, Obion, who is effectively a Greek Brian Blessed, if you want some sort of meta context here. And everything was fine. Everything was going well. It was quite a pleasant journey, apart from four Zyraxes. Before Cosima looked out over the bow and saw a dark shape looming underneath this boat. And out of the sea sprung this creature, this monster with many heads, huge, towering over the boat. This huge mouths open with almost needle-like teeth as it reared up, and with its many heads and necks and fins, it was smashing and crashing into the ship, splintering the wood. And amongst this chaos, poor sweet summer child that is Marcus disappeared beneath the waves. And this is where we find them once more. Cosima and Zyraxes, you look over to your friend Hestia, who is clinging onto the side of this boat. Her cat, who you've seen earlier, is trying to... it's strange. It looks like he's trying to pull her back on to the ship as she hangs there, and you can hear her screaming for help. And you have just seen Marcus disappear beneath the waves. And this head rears up again once more as the ship tips on its side, so you're almost vertical, hanging over this water. Marcus disappears into the darkness, and with one last scream, you see Hestia's fingertips ungrip and unlock on the side of this boat and follow Marcus into the depths. Whereabouts are you both on this ship?
Cosima is just screaming out like, "Man overboard!" as it would just be an instant reaction to anyone going over the side of a ship or a boat into the water. From what I remember, she's struggling up in the rigging right now, trying to stay on the ship herself.
You see this huge head rear up out of the water. As you look down, you see this mouth open and these teeth, these strange yellow bulging eyes jump out of this water. You are showered with that salty sea spray, and you can feel how close it is. The heat from this creature as it sort of glides, doesn't quite touch you, but is that close to you as it shoots up and starts to wrap itself around the other side of the boat.
Can I reach out with the hand that's not like entwined in rigging, grab my fisherwoman's knife and just stab this thing as hard as I can in the side?
Yeah, roll for me, please. And I need you to beat a difficulty of 4.
Oh, it helps if you're in the right roll 20. Pro streamer, still on Monster Hearts. Cosima really didn't want to have to fight this thing.
Yeah, she's just so done right now.
She really didn't want to fight it. She just can't let it destroy the ship. So difficulty of 4 means that I need to roll a 16 or higher, correct? No, 12 or higher.
12, yeah, 12 or higher. On a strength, please.
Let's roll this sweet little d20. 50!
Ooh. So as you see this sort of huge hole, almost like the neck of this creature, which is about 4-5 times the size of you, just this neck, and you pull out your blade and you plunge it as hard as you can into this neck, and you almost feel it, like you feel this force going in. You have to, it almost doesn't go in with this rough skin, but you feel it penetrate, and this huge screech erupts from this creature as it rears back up, and another head turns and looks towards you.
Return to your master! Clinging, knife in.
And it's in its snake-like sort of way, almost like Zorax's snakes. It's like it weaves towards you, and you are faced with this huge creature's head. And you can smell that rotting fish as it drops off the teeth. And Zoraxes, whereabouts are you at this point?
From what I remember of last session, when the ship tipped, I fell with Hestia towards the other side. So I am like stuck against the rail, bar, whatever the side of a ship is called, but kind of stuck there. I have a question. Do I roll to use my special abilities, or do I just spend my points?
You can roll if you want to use a special ability.
Because I would like to use my special ability, Sculpt Flesh.
Yes.
I don't know what I click to use this.
Is there not there should be another roll next to it, unless, hang on, whereabouts is it?
It's like down a bit. It's under special abilities and it's an action.
Let me have a look.
I don't know whether it costs 2 intellect points.
Oh, I see. Okay, no. Do a straight up roll for me, please.
Okay. How do I do that?
Oh, sorry. Just roll a strength for a might. Sorry.
A might. Okay.
Oh, okay. So, on that special, you have a major effect. So tell me what you do to this with your special ability, Sculpt Flesh. Describe the scene for me.
I use this ability on myself, and leaning back against the bulkhead, I don't know what that word is. My hands are clutching this wood, kind of keeping myself stable, and there's the crack of splintering wood as Zorax's fingers darken like they've dipped their hands in ink. And with all the blood and mud and sand that's clinging to their hands, you still see the skin underneath has gone almost an onyx black. It is black, but it's not really skin textured anymore. It's almost shiny. And the fingers have elongated to long, almost talon-like claws, except they're not like any bird because there's no difference between skin and claw. It's just long and thick and pointed, and they are digging into the wood at the sides of the ship. And they just bring their hands up and start climbing, almost crawling, because it's not really a vertical surface, up the flat planks of the ship towards the Hydra, just digging these talons almost into the wood and dragging themselves up towards the Hydra.
Yeah. So, Cosima, as you are faced with this huge creature with these big bulging yellow amber eyes, you see your own reflection in it for a brief moment. And then you hear a different kind of splintering wood. And as you look down, almost suspended in this net, you can see Zoraxes just, it's very animalistic, clawing their way up towards you. What do you do?
A little stick insect buddy.
Yeah.
I think she pulls out that fish knife very sharp, and just plunges it as hard as she can into one of those bulging yellow eyeballs. And because I've just remembered I have abilities too, I want to use Thrust. This is a powerful melee stab. You make an attack and inflict 1 additional point of damage if your weapon has a sharp edge or a point. Action required to use. So hopefully, if I stabby stab...
Yes, roll for me, please. Yeah, describe this for me. Exactly. As it rears up, it's getting much closer. It's about this far from your face, and you can smell that rotting fish.
So what I imagine happens is she pulls out the knife, she grips onto that rope in her hand, and swings out her legs to kind of grip around the creature's head to get a good grip, and then just all of her weight comes flying forward into that yellowing eyeball, and there's like a squelch and a pop kind of sensation underneath, and just bloody mess. And she's just dragging it down because gravity is pulling on her. She's still attached to rigging, and it's just doing maximum chaotic damage.
Yeah, your knife, this blade, pierces this creature's eye, and it's almost like you're cutting through a sail and dragging yourself down. But Zyraxes, you look up and you see Cosima almost coming down to meet you as this almost unholy screech comes from this animal, this creature, this hydra, and it rears back, flailing, as it's almost not torn in half, but open on its neck. And out of this open wound, from where you are, it's like another head starts to grow out of it, snake-like again, as it weaves out, slightly smaller, and rears up. And you're not too sure what he's saying, but you can hear Obion bellowing from the top of his voice as he's clinging to this ship's wheel. He sounds like he's laughing. We're not too sure.
I'm supposed to be the mad one.
Come on, Obion, you're Muck Dad's bro. You can't do us dirty like this.
Zyraxes is still just making their way up towards the Hydra. They're going as fast as they can, but it's very much kind of like, when you see an animal going for another animal, it's not smart, but it's going for it. And as they look up at Cosima, if Cosima is looking down, they will see that it's not just claws. Their teeth have actually lengthened and sharpened, and their mouth seems wider somehow. It's not quite
extending your jaw.
Yeah, almost. It's almost that horror movie kind of distend where it's just slightly too big, and it pings in the back of your head as just something wrong, but it doesn't look too unnatural to be magic. It looks a bit wrong, and the teeth have just narrowed to all canines, almost shark-like. Since you're a sailor, you'd recognize the kind of frightening points, and they're just bared teeth, feral, just clawing their way towards it.
Yeah, there's this second sort of neck and head which is slowly wrapping itself around the main mast. This is the main thing that is pulling the ship on its side, and the reason you're sort of hanging over this. And you can feel this whole ship slowly starting to turn. And out of nowhere, Obion, you will both see, almost like a madman. He has got so much adrenaline. He has pulled a sword out of nowhere, and seeing Cosima has jumped onto this creature and just started hacking at its neck. As you see it screech as this new one comes out, and almost with a clean sweep beheads it again. What is Cosima doing? As this creature, you feel this boat now, you can really feel you're almost hanging over, you're holding yourself up purely by the strength of your arms.
Is the boat, Can we see the bulk of the creature, or is it still literally just the heads and necks that are just...
You look down and you can see that sort of dark space, that what you can assume is the body, this just black mass, this shadow in the water.
I think she tries to figure out the best way to stay on board this ship as it tosses and it turns. Does she notice the head coming out of the neck, or is that only something that Zyrax has seen?
No, you probably would have noticed this, because as you're on your way down, you're the one creating this hole, this gash in this neck, and you see almost like you're looking down into it as this other one rears out.
Okay, further question. Would Cosmo know what a Hydra is? I would like to think she would, being so sea-based, but...
You don't necessarily... You maybe didn't think they were real, but you have certainly heard of them.
Heard that story of, you know...
That story of this creature in the depths, yeah.
So she yells out, Hydra, you'll take no more souls to your depths today. And she's hoping that people are going to hear the word Hydra and figure that shit out quick for themselves. And she wants to launch herself onto this beast's head and just keep doing maximum damage, but doing what she can not to sever.
Yeah.
Going more for just multiple stab wounds rather than dragging now. She's figured something out.
Yeah, roll for me.
Yeah, sure will. More murder, mayhem.
So did you say that the body is submerged and the heads are above the water?
Yeah.
The heads and the necks are above the water.
Okay.
Fortunately, Cosmo fails this time.
Cosima, you are on like the head of this creature that's lower by the mast, and your knife just isn't piercing through the skull of this creature. You're doing damage. This thing is
sliding and soaring the scales. But
it's almost like you're skinning the creature rather than actually stabbing this creature. But you are now sat on one of the heads.
Can I just really quickly, before we end my turn, look around? I want to look for a length of rope that I could maybe use somewhere between a garrote and some sort of,
there is so much rope on it. There's one tied round the mast, and there's also the net that you were originally hanging from.
So I think what she's going to aim to do is get a hold of that and, like, hop off the Hydra, grab it, and just swing around if she can. But we can see what Zyraxis does, because I know that I've already done the attack this time. So.
I imagine Zyraxis has finally reached the darn thing. How many heads are we on now?
Currently, there has just been one that has been beheaded, and another has come out, though slightly smaller, which Obion seems to be on. You've got Cosima on top of the head of this one wrapped around the mast, and there is another which you can see coming up out of the water, almost from the other side of the boat. As you look up, it's coming up and over you.
So we've got two main heads and a baby head.
A baby, yeah.
A baby head.
Baby head. Baby Hydra head.
Hydra head.
Yeah.
Okay. Zyraxis has no idea that the whole beheading thing isn't a good plan. Not that he has anything to behead with. So he'd probably make for the nearest head, moving up to the top of the slightly offset ship, and would just jump onto whatever portion of the Hydra they can that's visible there. If they can reach a head, they jump on its face. If they can only reach a neck, they jump on its neck. I mean,
You're
it's very much
hug at this thing.
Yeah,
it's literally just rending and tearing, claws and teeth, just like a honey badger. Okay, they're just.
Zyraxis the honey badger. Could you roll for me? And I'm gonna need you to make a speed check of 3.
Okay. Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Ooh. Yeah, on a 5, you see this head and this long neck sort of coming over, rearing over the boat. as it looks like it's going to almost meet the one at the center in the mast where Cosima is. And Cosima, you'll see that shadow loom over you and almost block out the sun that covers you. But also in that shadow, you see another shadow. The shadow of Zyraxes just, it's like with these now strange claws, just pulls themselves, almost just projects themselves that short way up and latches themselves with these claws into the side of the cheeks and the upper neck of this Hydra.
Zyraxes, don't sever the neck! And Cosima is slightly going to modify her plan. She's aiming to try and bind one head to another head. It's going to be complicated because she's got to swing the rope around the first one first. It's going to be radio time.
Okay.
So,
I'm going to need you to roll me a might, but also a speed, please. Might is going to need to be a 3, and so is speed.
let me have a look-see. So I think... Remind me, do we spend points after or before we roll?
Let's say after for now, and bear in mind you both have a re-roll as well. So you don't have to use it now, but just as a heads up.
Right, so that is my might.
I've got 2 rerolls.
You have got 2.
I've got 2.
Nice. And that's my
Saving
speed.
them.
Okay, perfect.
Ooh.
So, in fact, Cosima, how do you bind these 2 necks, Baby Hydra head and the one you're currently on together?
She falls back, and still that arm still has some rope, and she goes back to the mast or the rigging, and she heaves on the rope and gets the rope even slacker and launches herself forward and just kind of swings around on this rope and does what she can to shoelace these Hydra heads together.
Yeah, you
kind of kicking off of neck, kicking off of ship, swinging around like Tarzan.
Yeah, you swing around this and you feel for a second to keep yourself going. Your feet touch a mixture of the wood from the ship, but also you feel the Hydra's neck, that skin on your sandals, I guess. I'm assuming you'd be wearing sandals or something, or boots.
I think little boots.
Yeah, and you'd be running. And you swing round and you can feel, it's almost like as you secure yourself on the boat, you both feel that judder, that like the boat tips up and down again as the 2 necks just slam together.
I imagine to make it successful, she'd have to let go of the rope in the end and just land on the deck, and so we'll probably be off balance to some degree anyway.
Yeah, you've sort of like pulled this rope around the mast. That is how you're keeping them almost together and sat down. But you're not hanging, but you're not necessarily as secure as you were.
Yeah.
Zyraxes, you are effectively lodged in this creature's face. As this, you've pulled yourself up to this bit and you are faced with this eye that you can feel the dampness, the wetness on the face of this creature, and this eye sort of turns and blinks sideways like a sort of like a lizard or a reptile, and looks at you.
Whether consciously or not, Zyraxes is going to take the lead from Cosima and basically reach back with their hand and curl their very, very sharp pointed fingers into almost a version of a fist, but with all of the points out, and is just going to jab right into its eye, like right into the iris.
Yeah, roll me a might of 4, please.
Come on. Can I use my reroll?
Of course you can.
Hey.
Yes. On a 5, you reach in, and it's just like with these, it's almost like needle points. So with ease, you sort of strike this creature, and not to be too gross, your arm disappears into it a little bit, as you've sort of basically used your arm as a sword, and you are up to your elbows in Hydra.
And then it's just like, like a swizzle stick, just like.
Yeah. You just gotta scramble its
Does the
brains.
blender.
Yeah, just scramble its brains. How very
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
And we are also at 10 retweets as well. So Cosima 1 and Zyraxes 2 could
Hestia
either
isn't
be
here today to win it.
I know that someone else might win it.
Okay.
So that is Zyraxes. Could you roll me a 1d100, please?
Okay. Ooh, it's hot.
Oh, 82. Okay, let's have a look. As you're scrambling these brains, let's have a look.
Just.
Oh, how appropriate. Okay.
Aren't we glad they
scramble.
didn't use their teeth?
As you scramble these brains, you pull your arm back out. This eye is lodged on your fingertips. It twitches slightly as if it's looking at you in its last moments before falling. And this head starts to fall with you on it, lodged. Cosima,
Oh.
you are currently holding on to this creature. You're sort of suspended by rope. It's wound round with your forearm as these two heads are basically smushed together.
The best of bondage.
Mm.
Do
With a
I?
hydra.
Now that I'm in this position, kind of just using my weight to kind of keep this thing bound and using obviously the ship. I want to look for Zyraxes and Hestia and Marcus and Obi, and I want to check on where these people are and what's going on with everyone else.
Yeah, you have these suspended. Obion, you can't see. You can't quite see where he is. The ship is splintered. You can see it almost in half, and you can hear it creaking and aching. Hestia and Marcus have not reappeared from this water, from these depths. And you can see Zyraxes as they sort of almost, again, very animalistic, pull this eye back out. And you see this, you hear this cry, almost this moan from this hydra's head as it throws back and starts to fall. Zyraxes still attached to it.
Okay, is their head above or below me?
Above.
Okay. Can I attempt to climb the Hydra's head to get to Zyraxes?
Yes, you can.
Good, that's what I would like to do then. I'm going to try and get to Zyraxes as the only companion I can currently see. And the one that I deem is currently in trouble. Although...
Have I literally, like, pulled the eyeball out of the socket and it's stuck on my arm?
Like, in reverse?
Yeah, like,
Cool,
it's on your
okay.
hand. It's more like it's, like, wedged onto your fingertips.
I'm guessing there are some optic nerves still connecting it to the... Yeah.
You can scramble them off. So that'll be a might check, I imagine.
Yes, please, a might, please.
Oh,
Oh, okay. You make this jump. You use this rope, you kick off the hydra's heads that you have bound, and you throw yourself onto this other one that you can see falling with Zyraxes. And with your knife, you plunge once again into this skin. But as you do, you start to climb. And then you realize this hydra neck is falling. This is coming crashing back down into the boat. And you feel this pressure, this weight. It's almost like you are under this now as it's coming smashing back into the boat. You feel a crunch. You hear a bang. And everything goes dark. Zyraxes, you see Cosima make this epic leap across onto this hydra neck that you are currently on. As you look down and slowly start to see it fall, she climbs up heroically, but you can see as this neck turns and crashes, sending her underneath it, splintering through the ship's decks and absolutely obliterating what's left of the ship. And you're on this head as it goes down.
How many heads have we got left? It's a big head and a baby head.
There's 2, but they are still bound.
And are they tied to the ship?
They are, effectively, but you are currently on a falling one.
Yeah. Xeraxes will kind of shake the eyeball off their arm, because that's just a basketball stuck to them. And will kind of almost ride the head down and then try to jump onto the ship using their grippy claws.
Yeah.
So that they take less of the actual fall and kind of it.
Could you roll me let's have a speed, because this is going to have to be quick. And I need you to roll me a speed of 4.
Okay.
And also, Cosma, you have, I don't know who you're going to give it to, but you have an XP to gift.
I would like to give the XP to my good friend Shakes.
Okay.
The Xeraxes.
Right. And after I've rolled this speed, please remind me how to use XP. Okay, so please, Dionysus.
You add it as 1, just so you know. So even if you do add it, you will miss.
Yeah, I figured. I've only got 1 reroll left.
You yourself, you fall. You make this jump, and on the way down, it's like a splinter of wood comes and strikes you and knocks you off balance. And as you sort of rip this eye away, you realize you're pulling something else with it. A black, obsidian-like stone. As you crash into this hydra, crash again, very much like Cosima, and disappear into the depths, and everything goes dark. You're not too sure how long you've been out, or how long you've been drifting. But Cosima, it's almost like you come to, and at the beginning, you can feel your lungs filling with water, and you open your eyes and they sting with salt in this water. And you sort of look around in this dark depths of this water, and you see below you this ship, broken up bits of this ship sinking, with a huge looming beast, this hydra, still attached to it, being dragged into the darkness.
I would like to release a bubble to figure out which way is up. Because I don't want to drown.
Yeah. You let out a breath. And a couple of these bubbles sort of erupt from your mouth, and they start to drift sort of to the side, and you realize you're on your side, sort of looking down. And as you look up, you see that tiny bit of light. You're not too sure how deep you are in this water, but you can feel your chest tightening, and you feel tired, you feel bruised from hitting. You went through the decks, like you were crushed, like almost all the way through this. But you know the water.
I think just in her head, all she's thinking is up. That is the only word, the only part of her that has any strength left. And she's just going to push up as hard as she can to get to that light, to get to the air, to live.
Yeah, you start to swim up, and you're used to swimming. This isn't a problem for you at all. And then that stone in your bag, it feels like it's a hand that just yanks you back down briefly, almost to turn you around as you look into these dark depths. And you think you see someone.
I just reach into that bag and I pull out that strange quartz statue. This is all strange to me. I should be at the surface, and now I'm being... and I hold it out, and I look down at this person in the depths. Do I feel as if I'm gonna die in the second if I...
Strangely, no.
Okay.
This is a weird sensation for you. You feel like you're on like the cusp, the moment of drowning, but it's never coming. And as you hold this crystal down, as if you look, it's almost for a second, it's like it's a light in this darkness as everything grows that little bit darker. And it's like you're looking through this crystal. You see your husband swimming underneath you, hand held out.
And she swims down to him. This must be part of whatever it is that she has to do. It's a test, it's a trial. And she's gonna swim down towards him, kicking away from the light of the world above.
As you swim down towards him, it's like you never quite reach him, but he turns to look at you. And he looks happy. He looks happy to see you, and again, arms outstretched, but even if you try to grab them, it's like you go through his palms. And his lips move, but only bubbles come out. And could you roll me an intellect for me, please? Just need an intellect of 2. Yeah. Oh. You're not too sure.
Can I spend a couple of points?
Yes, of course you can.
To beat a 2, I needed to get 3, so 6. So I need to spend 2 points, is that right?
Yeah, just 2 points. Okay. As you do this, it's almost like you know this man, you know his movements, you read his lips, and he's happy to see you. But he's also, you can see fear in those eyes, and on those lips you can read, find the messenger. Find the messenger. The woman with hair like the sea. The messenger. The messenger. And as it does, you see, it's like he's slowly drifting into this darkness. Drifting back.
I imagine that she tries to call out to him, and it's just bubbles, and it's that reminder of, oh, I'm about to drown, that sinus burn, and that the ear's full of water. And she forces herself to look away and to look around to see if she can see Marcus, to see if she can find Hestia or Silaxes or Obion or anyone. She feels like she has to find someone down here. She obviously knows that, like, she was referencing Hestia, but she's like, I'll take anyone at this point.
Yeah. You see like bits of, like, you're surrounded by bits of this, like, the ship, the wood almost drifting amongst you, almost like in an eerie sort of way.
Kind of like the beginning of, like, Shape of Water, where it's all just floating and suspended.
Yeah, I've never seen it, but yeah. But it's all this bits of debris. You can see the net slowly drifting down. And there is a figure, face down, passed out. And this looks like a rather large man. You can probably guess this is Obion. And he's not dropping fast, but you can see him disappearing, his arms limp, almost reaching out. But as he slowly disappears, you see no bubbles.
I swim forward with that quartz so tightly grasped in my hand, some sort of guiding light, some sort of scuba torch.
Yeah.
And I'm like swimming as fast as I can to get to this falling shape in the darkness.
Yeah, you can reach in, you can see Obion. You can see like this hair and this long, big beard that's just now very fluid in this water. His eyes are closed. And for a moment, you see the tiniest bubble leave his lips.
I want to use his neutral buoyancy and push him as hard as I can upwards.
Yes.
And then I want to swim after him and keep pushing him up as hard as I can to get him to that surface before he dies.
Yeah, you push and push all the way up. It's almost like you use him as the momentum on the way up. And you look up at this almost white, this pale blue, with these, again, almost like huge planks of wood sort of drifting in this water. And you break that surface and you feel like you've never wanted air more. And you can feel that heat of the sun touch your skin, and you suddenly realize how cold you actually were down there.
I think she'll throw him as like kind of fireman's lift, anything she can achieve to get him onto one of these floating planks, and just hope he stays on it and goes back down. She doesn't know CPR, she doesn't know these things, she just knows, right, he can breathe. Daddy's dead, I've done what I can do, and she knows there's more people down there, and she's been told to find these people. And she could breathe down there, or not breathe, but she could still survive down there, so she's going back down, that quartz in hand, and she's really actively searching now.
Okay. And whilst this is happening, we're going to hop over to Zoraxes. Zoraxes, this is probably your worst nightmare. Mm-hmm. You are in darkness. And you
that's not too bad.
Water.
Yeah, that's less good.
Salty, heavy. It feels heavy. This feels like pressure on your body, heavy water. And it's like you come round with this splitting headache. And you suddenly realize that you can't breathe at all. This is just that you can taste salt water. You could, it's a strange feeling. It's like you can taste it on your lips, on your tongue, and all the way down your throat. Almost like you could taste it in your lungs and to the very core of you.
Yep, they are going to panic. They have no really field of reference to even, they don't know to blow out bubbles to know which way is up. They just know that this is wet and moving and pressure, and they are panicking. They are probably not very good at conserving the breath they've got, so they're probably just drowning.
You're probably freaking out. You feel very disorientated. This is dark. You don't know which way is up. You can panic, you flail, and you can feel your muscles ache and tire as you fight against this resistance, this force. And you hear that voice again, that voice that took you to the cliffside looking over the village. And in that head of yours, it's like you see it, that muse, but just the mask talking. Look down, very much like it said in the first vision.
Xeraxes will immediately look to their feet because it's dark. They have no way to orient themselves, but they've always known that feet is down.
And you look down as you realize you're drifting slower down into this darkness. And you're not too sure what you see because it's very dark down here, but you can assume the seabeds and dipping, almost like that, is very much like the cliff you saw, but underwater. And I need you to roll me an intellect of 2, please.
Okie dokie. Let's look.
You look down into this darkness, into this ravine, this huge crack and split in the ground. And a shape appears. It's not moving. It's just there. And as you can feel this tension in your head, as you feel your head getting dizzy, you realize you're looking at almost like it's like a boulder, a huge boulder. And as you drift down closer and closer, this isn't a boulder, this is a head. A great stone head. And this is the head, which looks almost carved from rock, but you have never seen a statue, almost very statuesque, this size before. This is ridiculous. This is larger than the temple you entered. And as you go deeper and deeper, you see it sits on shoulders, on arms, on a huge body, but reaches into the depths of the darkness that you can't see anything else.
Since the muse told me to look down, and this is obviously something I'm meant to see, and being mad have no sense of self-preservation whatsoever, they are going to, in a very kind of instinctual, again, animal way, kind of doggy paddle, because they can't swim. It's not a thing they've ever, no. So kind of just almost like that they're just continually reaching, and they will try to swim closer to the big giant head, even though it's further down.
You swim towards this, and it's like your vision starts to blur with this lack of oxygen that's currently going on in your head. And as you swim further down, the debris lessens. The fish don't seem to follow or go this deep, and you feel crushed. This is far too deep for you. And through this blurred vision, it's almost like you're drunk. This is probably a sensation you haven't felt in a very long time. I'm talking like the vision of you want to keep blinking to try and focus on whatever the hell this is. And you swear for a moment you can hear, but you shouldn't be able to hear, but you can hear that crunch of rock as this head moves to look up towards you. And just that last second, it's like you feel your body gasp as it tries to find that last bit of air, and everything starts to fade almost like to a pinpoint. And Cosima, well, Zyraxes, the last thing you see is almost this light, this thing swimming towards you from the side. As Cosima, you can see Zyraxes thrashing about madly, all limbs, like they're upside down, they're up the right way, they're moving all over the place, like they're panicking. And you see bubbles leave their chest, and after almost like a spasm, stop and float in this abyss.
I push down harder, wrap a strong arm kind of across their chest so they are kind of safely grasped to me, and then with one arm and my two leg, going back to the surface.
Yeah.
But I imagine this hand isn't surfaced because it's got the quartz in it as well, so it's, it's really awkward. Body, quartz, legs kicking like mad.
Yeah, you still feel like you've got a lot of air in your chest. You're aware that you had to dive deep, basically. And you do this often, but this is even quite deep for you.
I think
and
this reminds me of when I was a girl and we would go like diving for oysters and crabs and those sorts of things, and my brothers would always be able to go deeper than I could with my older brothers, and so I would always push myself too far and get that burning in my lungs, and I'm surprised that the burning isn't there. And I don't know if it's because I'm stronger now or there's something else going on, but it's working, and I've got my little lobster, oyster, Cyraxes attached to me. So heading back.
Yeah, for that moment, it feels like you're free diving again with your brothers. It's almost like you have that flash, that image cross your mind, and for a second, Cyraxes you actually see your brother in their place, but for a split second, as you creep up and up. And as you are creeping up, you're so close to this surface. When you see something just catches your eye, something is swimming towards you. Not directly at you, it looks like it's more watching you.
I think part of me wants to fight it. I'm still in that mode of being in this battle with this Hydra, and there's this great danger around me. But then the weight of Cyraxes being clung to me, I'm just like, I have to get Cyraxes to the surface, and I'm ignoring this thing. I maybe push my quartz towards it, but then I kick with my legs as hard as I can to break that surface.
Well, as you hold the quartz out towards it, you get that tiny glance as there is that tiny bit of radiant light. As this huge shark sort of shies away from the light and sort of quickly swims back into the darkness again. As you break that surface once more. And you've swum quite a bit. You can see Obion over quite far away, sort of drifting on this big, like, couple of planks that are still fairly intact.
Like a chunk of hull.
Yeah, just like a bit of the hull that's there, and he's just drifting.
And I think I'll swim until I can find a door or some other part of the ship that I can balance Cyraxes on and myself on.
How Titanic of you.
Titanic.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, Titanic.
And you can both fit on this one, just so you're aware. But yeah, you can find, there's quite a lot, as much as like this Hydra had smashed into this boat. There was a lot of debris, but there's huge chunks of this that you could probably get like 3 or 4 people on. And you can see like the bow of this ship bobbing along, half of it in water. But you can haul yourself and Cyraxes up onto this.
I think she will linger, having hauled herself up, and kind of look at Cyraxes and look at the quartz and kind of hold it down in the water to see if there's still that pull, that there's more down there that you can save pull, or that's it. That's all you're getting. Yeah,
you see nothing. You don't see Marcus, and you don't see Hestia. They're gone.
And she kind of slings the quartz onto the... I mean, it's kind of like a semi-like cupped or something.
Yeah, it's easy enough to sort of sit on or even lay on upright. And you can feel this sun like beating down on you right now. And there's some, strangely enough, the odd seagull. You're not close to land, but there's definitely a chunk of Hydra that is floating past you right now. And you can guess that's probably what drew the shark to this area.
Mm-hmm. Charm in the water.
Mm-hmm.
She turns. I think she flops like full on back, and she turns her head to look at Cyraxes to figure out if this person is alive. If she did what she needed to do quick enough.
Yeah, could you roll me an intellect, please?
Yes.
Oh,
Hey.
yeah.
So I've done that on an important roll.
Yeah.
You know, when you had to get them out quickly.
Right.
Okay.
Also, can we just like hand wave that Cyraxes snakes are okay? They're a gift from
yeah,
the
they're
gods.
just sort of, you can see them like
fine.
like on the side.
They're fine. They're more
They can
durable
swim pretty
than
well.
Xeraxes is. It's fine.
They're like little baby hydras. They're fine.
Yeah. They can hold their breath for a really long time.
They're busy having snacky foos on the Hydra that's floating around.
Yeah, it's just
They'll flip
Cyrax.
over when they're done.
And Cosima, there's that memory again of when you and your brothers used to free dive and catch oysters and like sea urchins and things like that. And there was that one time you were getting a lot better at this, and your brother wasn't happy about that, so he pushed himself that little bit too far. And he almost resulted in a similar situation to this. You remember finding him in this sort of drifted position in the water and dragging him up onto the beach. You still almost feel that hot sand on your bare feet. And you remember the panic you felt and the panic your other brothers had. And your older brother shoving you out of the way, rolling your brother over, and just the biggest fist slamming on his back. And you remember that tense moment, that gasp of, is he going to be okay? And then that seawater erupting from your brother's lungs and that coughing as he lay there. Absolutely fine.
And she kind of chants to herself, push the water out as she's like having this realization, and she balls up her two fists and just smashes down onto the breastbone, ribcage area, not knowing where to hit. And if that doesn't work, she's gonna go lower and go for the stomach flashy bit.
Remember that I'm spindly. I'm spindly.
You're dead if this doesn't work.
It's like a grizzly bear trying to like resuscitate a toothpick. It's like, whoa.
And you do hear a slight crack, and you're pretty sure a rib has fractured. Well, you might not know that, but you know.
I think I would know about ribs fracturing.
You probably would. You would have had accidents before.
I might not know how many ribs we have, but I know spring.
But they're there. And at this point, Xeraxes, this hurts, but you feel this water just sort of leave your body, and it burns. This salt burns your eyes, your throat, your mouth. And oh my god, your chest hurts. You feel like you've been punched in the stomach, but you can feel, like, as much as your vision starts to return, you can feel dry wood.
Xeraxes has a weird relationship with pain. That sounds even worse than it did in my head. Sorry.
Yeah, where is this going?
For Xeraxes, because their life is so tumultuous, because their brain is fucked. Pain has always been a very grounding, real thing. So yeah, it hurts, but they are very aware now that this is real, that they're here to feel it. And there's a weird kind of like a tension from the pain, and then their muscles kind of relax, like, oh, okay, this is real. What's next? Kind of feeling to it. Like the pain is something that they can feel, but they almost put it aside in their heads as more like a pinch in a dream kind of situation.
I feel like as they're asking themselves what's next, that's when the sun gets blotted out as the fists are raised.
It just comes back up again, like, yeah. And you will wake up at this moment as Cosima raises like two clenched fists and is about to come like right down on you again.
Would this be the point at which like the salt, like they do the classic kind of
the classic bubble?
Can I spit salt water in her face? Involuntarily, but like sit bolt upright, and she just happens to be there, and the salt water just goes pa.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yes, you can.
Yep. You're of the sea. It's fine.
Good. You're alive.
I am alive.
I'm sorry. Alice's brother just stuck his head in the door and like like a deer in the headlights. Someone please clip.
It's the best thing. Oh. You know, in Signs. But yes. So Raxes just spits the salt water out into Cosima's face. And again, you probably feel like you know when your skin feels like it dries off really quickly in that hot sun, because this is hot. And you can almost feel like probably more Zyraxes than Cosima, but you can feel yourself burning a little bit because Cosima's out on like a boat all the time, but not so.
Oh no, Zyraxes is fragile. They're gonna have sunburn. They kind of like shift to try and arrange the skins that they have, the fox skin and the leopard, to try and cover.
Precious.
He was getting snacks, I think.
It's like a naughty teddy bear coming back from a picnic.
Sorry, Zyraxes.
I imagine we're feeling like the salt always crystallizing on our faces.
It makes your skin feel tight. You know when your skin starts to feel tight.
And they're kind of like ducking their head and pulling their hair, trying to get their hair to cover their face just to get away from the heat of the sun. Just kind of curling up almost. But then they'll kind of stop, like they've just remembered something. And a hand, which is no longer clawed, because I'm guessing going unconscious kind of wrecks that. A hand will just snake out and grab whatever bit of Cosima is closest. Whatever, you could decide which part of you is.
You kind of get like
newest.
a handful of the cloth, and then like her side,
and you just hear like this garbled horse kind of still hacking, coughing. I saw the earth shaker. Ow. And it's just like gripping on just like this coiled up pretzel again, almost not really speaking to you, just speaking to themselves, but they are gripping onto you with a death grip.
I think the mother in Cosima is gonna just slowly reach down to that hand and lay hers over the top, and then if there isn't a violent reaction to that, then she'll reach out and just gently stroke Zyrax's head, just very lightly, just to try and comfort this craziness.
There will be a violent reaction to skin contact. They will fling themselves away. I'm really hoping they don't fling themselves off the debris.
Like
but they will.
panicking salmon.
Do you know what?
Flips straight back into the water.
I want you to roll for that. Can you give me a speed, please?
Oh, what speed? I'm shit at speed. Okay.
Because you're moving fast.
Oh.
Well, first of all, you have an XP to gift. You may return the favour.
XP.
And as you sort of recoil away, you sort of like, Cosima sees you sort of scurry back, and you just like miss that last bit, and you sort of flip back over the edge of this boat, and Cosima sees these legs just disappear again. But you can reemerge fairly quickly.
Oh, like a cat that's fallen in the bathtub, just like scrambling back onto the wood and just like shaking.
I think
mad
the
eye.
amount of action just reassures Cosima that they're fine.
And Cosima, from where you fell earlier, it doesn't seem to have hindered you so much. You suddenly realize there is a dull ache in like your thigh, and you suddenly realize you were almost crushed by a hydra through this decking and this wood, and you can see a fairly large splinter just in the side of your thigh, and it's like the adrenaline has kept you going until
I
this
imagine I'm
moment.
now feeling all of that salt water.
Mm-hmm. It's burning.
And looking down, I think her hand kind of curls around it, and she's so tempted to pull it out. But I think she's seen enough bad injuries to know that could potentially make this worse right now. And this leg is working currently, so I think what she's going to do is just rip a huge swathe of whatever fabric is still attached to her and just tie it off, and it's a problem for later Cosima.
Future Cosima can deal with this
Future
shit.
Cosima can worry about the giant splinter in her leg.
And as you're doing this, sort of sorting it out and dealing with the situation at hand, and you see Zeraxi sort of claw up like an animal, probably breathing quite heavily as trying to get out of this water. You see this cat, Hestia's cat, soaking wet, but almost gleefully hopping across the debris towards you and landing at Cosima's feet, and just starts to clean itself of the salt water.
Little shit.
Where is she, cat? Where'd you leave her?
And the cat just sort of gives off that tiny sort of chirp and continues to lick itself.
Do I still have my black rock that I pulled out of a hydra brain?
Yeah, I'm assuming probably, again, out of all the freaking out, you were very tense, you probably still have it just lodged in your hand.
Yeah. So I'm like curled up in like the fetal position, but not on my side, on this bit of debris, so I don't have to look at the ocean anymore. And because my hands are like clawed into my chest, I've kind of gone, and I am now like, my face is on the rock, and I am like lying in this weird kind of child pose, just looking at this black rock. Like, I don't know where it's come from. It's just in my hand. Like,
Then you look at this black this black stone. And you look down at it and you can almost see your reflection. It's like glass. It's like black glass. And you may have seen things like this before. You've lived near volcanic areas. This is like an obsidian. This is you've known this to be turned into weapons and arrowheads. But to find such a large chunk that almost looks like it has been already carved and smoothed out for no purpose. It looks like it's been like this for a long time and maybe weathered like sea glass within the hydra in the ocean.
Since it's polished, it's shiny, like reflective.
Yeah, you can almost see your reflection in it, a very distorted one, but you can see it.
Okay, Zaraxes will twitch because shiny things, not a fan, but kind of almost tuck their head further over it, so their hair almost curtains it, and so it doesn't have any light to reflect off. And they're just curled up there with this black rock like pressed against their forehead. Just trying to cope with the situation. Just trying to cope with the situation. And they don't want to look at a shiny thing right now. So it's just like...
Yeah, you can feel how cool it is. And it's very smooth as you just press it against your forehead.
They're having a moment with the rock.
And curl up. and you drift on this, I guess it's now your raft almost. And you can feel with the waves that just bob up and down, up and down. You see smaller fish, and there is that shark again, but it's too interested in that big chunk of hydra that has just fallen into this ocean.
I would like to look for a sizable piece of wood that I can use almost like an oar or like some sort of paddle.
Yeah, there's bits and bobs anyway. You can literally just grab out and start.
And I think I'm going to try and paddle towards Obion.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the moment I have no other landmarks. So I'm going to paddle over to him, see if he is alive or not, and then start worrying about which way the seagulls are flying to try and figure out which way land might be.
Yeah, you paddle sort of through, like you hear like the ka-chunk, ka-chunk as all the wood sort of hits you as you sort of create a path through it towards Obion, who lays there limply, but you can haul him on fairly easily, sort of drag him up onto this makeshift raft you both have, and he seems to be breathing. You can literally just watch his chest rise and fall, but he's tired. He seems to just be out of it. And at that, we're going to take a quick 5-minute break. I can always stay and answer questions until someone else comes back or anything like that. So Charlie and Shakes, if you want to run off and have a quick break or anything like that. So chat, do you have any questions for me, whether it's about the Cypher system, whether it's about this world, or anything in general, basically? Cypher system, I personally utterly adore. So it's scrat in chat. It allows for so much, and I think I mentioned it earlier on Twitter that I don't think I could have created last season's Eden without the Cypher system, or this one. So because there's not quite a system that is as open as Cypher, which I really, really like. But and I think we were talking earlier about how the two party members that probably disagree the most have now been thrown together and have to survive together. But we've lost our sweet, sweet summer child to the depths, as well as our witch, Hestia. Though we do have the cat. So I would also be intrigued to see what maybe chat would think that Zyraxes maybe saw in the depths, and things like that. But yeah, I've been meaning to play the Cypher system, but haven't had a chance. What do you think makes the system so open? So what makes the system so open is that there is sort of there's like a heavy role play, but also it's very open. So you have 3 pools. You have might, speed, and intellect. So no matter what the situation is, you can make things link up to that. And the other awesome thing about the Cypher system, I think Scrat actually had a link on how to make like a quick character, because sometimes that's really handy. And you can pick any setting, whether it's sci-fi, ancient Greece, or modern day, and all these other things. I mean, there it is, fastcharacter.com. What's to say? Do you want to play some Cypher on Sunday with my folks, Alice? You want me to teach your parents Cypher? That could be interesting. Yes. But, yes, it's a really open system, and what I normally say to my players when they come into this, I say, who do you want to play? Don't even look at the character sheets or anything straight away. who do you want to play in this world? And then we will fit you to something. Because again, with the Cypher system, so it's very open and very open to interpretation so that it can work in so many worlds. So, yeah. Have there been any screaming and snakes so far today? We have had snakes, and we had technically giant snakes, if a Hydra counts.
The screaming is implied with everything that Xyraxes does.
Yeah, that's sort of the way Xyraxes communicates, I feel. But yeah. I just feel that's the way they communicate. I'm going to quickly run off for a bio as well. We're literally just chatting Cypher system about how open it is and how awesome it is. And now Shakes is making me really, really hungry because it's got croissants and I don't have them. So I'll be right back.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Cypher system. I'm using it at the moment to create my own game. It's been really fun to learn and play here. It's so quick to pick up. I think if you wanted to play a game with people who've never played a game before, go into Cypher. Don't give them any information. Just say, just turn up and tell me what you want to try and do. And you can start there and just roll that D20. Tell them this is, your target number. And you multiply it by 3 to figure out what number you need to achieve. And slowly figure it out from there. And it'll be a really good building way. And the way you make a character, obviously, is the 3 little segments which give you extra moves and things. And you can introduce that after they've just had a go of just rolling that D20. Because I really like systems that are not mechanically complicated and just kind of enable you to do whatever you need to do. And the difficulty is just obviously set by the game master keeper. I forget what it is for Monty Cook, but yeah, I've been really impressed, and it's really easy to adapt to whatever setting you want to play. And there's also a really great site, I think it's fastcharacters.com, hashtag not sponsored, but you can either do a completely random character on there, or you can input the little bits you want as like one random bit or no random bits, and it will generate a sheet for you, and it'll automatically assign the extra points you get to spend and figure out little moves for you, and it's done in seconds, and you don't even have to worry about it. All of the information's there. It's really great. It also does 5e characters. So if you're playing a lot of D&D, or you're doing D&D on the fly somewhere, bring it up on your phone, because it's also phone compatible, which is super cool. I'm just going to scan chat.
Oh, hi.
Oh, hi. Welcome back.
Yeah. So, our characters are on a makeshift raft. They have, I think Cosima is currently with like this bound up leg is sort of pushing them through this water until you leave the debris. Obium passed out, but breathing on this like decking. And Xyraxes probably making some weird noises, like some almost like animalistic noises with this obsidian stone pushed to the forehead in this almost like fetal position. And it goes on like this for a while. In fact, minutes turn to hours as you are rowing through this sea, this ocean.
To begin with, Cosima would periodically call out to see if there were any other survivors, anything like that. Just short bursts of sound, trying not to tire herself any more than she's already tired. But I think she gives up after a little while. She just focuses on just keep going, try and figure out which way the tide is going, try and figure out which way the seagulls are flying to come to the Hydra, because that's a good sign that the other way is probably where the land is. You never know with a seagull.
Every now and then you think you hear a voice, but you're pretty sure it's just Xyraxes or one of the seagulls or something. And slowly you start to feel tired and that leg starts to ache. And after a while, you just drift. That sun beats down on you and you can feel your skin so dry with this salt. Obion still sleeping, his chest rising up and down. Would Xyraxes be doing anything different right now, or?
After maybe about an hour of just making noise. I mean, I don't know if you've ever heard what a zebra sounds like, but it's not far off. Just making noise, Cyraxes would start praying. And not in any organized fashion, not in any organized language. It would be this weird mix of the kind of the common tongue and Thracian and just garbled, almost more animal sounds that could have been words at one point, but are not anymore. And they will just be pressed to the wood of this makeshift raft, and just a constant stream of devotion and desperation, because they are very aware that they were set on this path by something, whether their god or on behalf of their god or to save their god, and they are feeling like they have failed and they haven't even started yet. So it's just desperate prayer. They may also, because it's part of the cult of Dionysus's rituals and stuff, a couple of their snakes may not be there anymore. I'm trying not to be too dark here, but yeah. Rituals!
And this goes on for a while. But Cosima, you notice, as you're the one keeping an eye out mainly, that the cat perks up, sort of runs to the top of the highest point at the bow, and you can see just looks out across the water, and then you hear those gulls, lots and lots of gulls, and in that distance you see a boat. Not just any boat, you recognize a fishing boat when you see it. And you can see these huge nets being hauled up. This is why all the seagulls are flocking towards this area. You can't really hear any voices as it's so far away, but you can see it.
Cyraxes, there's a boat.
They will not really acknowledge this. They're still praying and probably spreading snake all over the wood.
Alright then. Cosimo's going to begin. So tired, but she's going to put everything she's got into wading us towards it. And then when we get closer, she's going to flick water at Cyraxes to make a noise, because she hasn't got it in her anymore. She's just too tired.
Do you like poke them, or?
I imagine she's like got wet hands and she just flicks the excess water towards Cyraxes.
There will be like the flinch, which turns into kind of like an almost half backward roll, and there will be screaming and gibbering. Yeah. They're not having a good day. They're really not. And their life is kind of hell anyway, so it's the worst kind of day. But yeah, screaming. Lots of screaming.
Yeah, you just start to wail out into this. And as you get closer and closer, you do hear a couple of voices. And you hear that as you it's almost you're so tired, you feel like you're drifting off. You're tired. And you hear, "Ho there!" as this voice comes out, and you realize you've drifted towards this boat, and you hear that creaking. And you see on the deck about 4 or 5 men and 1 woman, and they're looking down at you, and some of them are holding out their arms to reach for you.
I think Cosimo's going to start by offloading the cat.
The cat just woohoo, jumps up onto the deck fairly easily. And they pull up beside you, and you can see one of the men throwing a rope down to you.
Thank you.
Tie it and we'll secure you up.
Yeah, but she'll do what she can to find a good little wedgy space to tie it onto our little raft.
And with that, there's this man, not quite as big as Obion. In fact, this is a fairly he looks fairly young, maybe 20 years old. Sort of comes down and looks at you and says, "Is everyone okay? What happened?"
Still screaming.
Yeah, but he looks at you and goes, "Oh God, you're one of those. Okay, like
We were wrecked.
wrecked by who?
By what? Some great
They're-
creature sent up from the depths.
Poseidon's doing."
I know not the god's business. You see what it does to the minds of those who do.
Screaming. Flailing. Screaming.
He takes more lives every day. And again looks over to Zyraxes, and they probably know what worshippers of Dionysus look at. They just go, okay. You normally see them in water.
It took some persuasion. Help me.
Well,
And she'll go to Obion and start hauling him towards the edge of the raft to get him on the ship.
yeah, this youngish boy starts hauling. You can feel this tip as these other bodies enter onto this and start pulling, because Obion's a big guy, and they're dragging Obion, and you can see it takes two of them, you and the younger guy, pushing him up, and you do hear that slight sort of crash as they finally heave him on board, and you hear a sort of but nothing more.
Is the raft close enough to the ship, like it's butting up against the hull?
Yeah, it's fairly close. There's a tiny gap, but not like a footstep gap.
Because Zyraxes would probably do his claw thing again and just Spider-Man up the side of it.
Yeah, you can just sort of claw your way along and across and get onto this boat.
Yeah.
You see one of the men looks utterly horrified by this, but at the same time won't go near you and maybe blinks
Don't
a
touch them.
couple of times.
They're just straight to the mast and just bear hugging it, just head down, just finally silent.
Yeah, you sit there silently.
Just
And Cosima, there is this one man. He almost reminds you, he looks the same age as your husband probably would have been. He looks weathered from the sun, with this very dark tan skin and smiling lines around his eyes and mouth, and holds a hand out to you.
And she'll reach out and take
Yeah.
it.
He almost hauls you up in one. He hauls you up and then with another arm very unelegantly sort of almost throws you on board. And the woman rushes over and sort of takes your face in her hands and looks you over. Are you okay? We need to see to this leg.
No more lost.
How many?
How many?
You would know. You would probably know it.
Yeah.
Maybe only a couple of people plus Marcus and Hestia. This was not a big boat.
legitimate skeleton crew now.
5, 6. I wasn't familiar with the rest of the crew. The 2 of my companions.
We will keep an eye out. You can see that there's not much hope in her eyes, but she's trying.
I
And
think Cosmo very much wears the same similar kind of look.
yeah, there's probably that moment you both meet each other's gaze and exchange the same sort of nod. And she helps you to your feet.
Looks like we got a new friend!
And we'll take you below deck. I think you've been in the sun a little too long, don't you?
How far are we from land?
A few hours at most. Maybe 5, depending on how much is out here. And hello, Renee, and thank you for the raid. Hello, lovely people. Welcome to effectively the world of, inspired by the ancient world of Greece, Egypt, Persia, you name it. That's what's going on here.
Renee's my favourite granddaughter. Let it be known.
I love Renee. And she helps you down towards onto this deck. You see the cat follow at your heels. There is someone sort of tending to Obion, sitting him up, checking he's all right. He's more being propped up than anything. And you see they sort of almost take a wide berth around Zyraxes as they cling to this mast head down, thinking it's probably best to leave them alone.
Cosimo would ask as we get below deck, which land are we near?
Well, we'll be heading into Memphis port. Egypt is where were you headed?
Egypt.
Then the gods do smile down on you, even if Poseidon has taken
A
those from
strange
you.
smile indeed.
But you are here, and you are alive. And from the sounds of it, you could have walked away with a lot more than... And she sort of gestures down to your leg where this huge splint of wood is. Like, could have been worse.
Yes, but they blessed me with Zyraxes. Could have been better.
That they did. And she sort of glances over at Zyraxes before you sort of hobble and disappear down onto this deck. And she takes you into this, almost like this cabin. And there's this bed. And she sits you down on it. So, I am going to have to do something about that.
I nearly pulled it out myself, but there were more pressing matters. Enough blood in the water already.
There are sharks in this area. A lot of sharks, so probably for the best. And she looks at you and sort of goes to reach and do you mind?
She shakes her head. She'll look around for something to bite into, because this is going to hurt, and she doesn't want to bite through her tongue.
Yeah, this woman looks like she's brought some things down with her, and it's almost like a wooden, like, carved spoon. A very small one. She's just like, just put that in your mouth.
She just puts it in. And places. I think she's going to grasp hold of whatever she sat on.
Yeah.
Get a good grip. Her knuckles already white as she's racing.
This is like a simple bed. This is a simple bed of like straw with covers over it. You imagine this is probably something very, very comfy. But right now, you digging your hands into it, you can feel every bit of straw in that. And she looks you right in the eye. It's like, I'm really sorry. And just with a quick movement. She's almost as big as you, not quite as tall and as broad, but you can see she works on this boat. And she pulls this splinter out and quickly throws it aside. And this, some sort of ointment, almost like an oil. It doesn't sting. If anything, it soothes slightly as she pours it over. And quickly starts to bandage up your leg.
What was that?
Just some oils from the port, mixed in with honey.
Good oils.
Memphis has a lot of them. Plus, it helps the smell. Like, and she sort of realizes what she said is like, not in a bad way, not that you smell, but sometimes things can be infected. And
wounds fester.
Yes, that they do. But you're going to need rest. And
if you have honey, you could probably tempt Zyraxes down with that. Get them out of your way.
what, coax them away from the mast. And she sort of looks down at these, like this, almost like this satchel of just ointments and honeys, a mixture of things.
Unless you prefer them mad in the sun.
That is a good point. If anything, that could add to the madness. Well, you rest, and your little friend here, and you see the cat jump up onto the bed, and you hear that purring as it sort of starts to knead at the covers and settle down. You rest here. I'm going to go and you see her rummage around in this satchel and pull out like this jar of honey. I'm going to go and check on your friend. And you see she's sort of like, sort of scraping away at this wax seal to open it as she walks back up the steps.
Great big customer hand goes down on the little cat's head and just kind of scratches it.
Yeah, there's that purr as that you can, and you feel almost the cat like vibrate a little with how much it's purring.
And the last thing she'll do before we cut back to Cyraxis is to take out that quartz object again, to pull it back from wherever she tucked it before leaving the boat. Unless she forgot it. I don't know if she... Because I didn't expressly say that she picked it back up.
I would have think you would have picked it up.
I think she would have picked it up.
I think she would have picked it up.
Maybe it vanished or something. So.
And you take out this quartz and you hold it in your hand. And you can sort of roll it in your palm. And for a second, it's almost like that faint glow that effectively saved yours and Zyrax's life. Sort of like a sheen slides across it. And you place it down on the bed next to you and next to the cat. And it's like your husband's voice appears again, just saying, "The messenger." And up on deck, Zyraxes, please describe the scene as to what you are doing right now.
Zyraxes is folded into not quite a squat, but like a curl with one knee on either side of the mast, and their great long arms just wrapped around as far as they can go around the mast, and they are just pressing their face into the wood. Their hair kind of gone dark with the weight of the water and kind of pulled down, just shrouding their face, and they are just making a high-pitched kind of wavering whining sound. And one hand, which still has the rock in it, is kind of twitching back against the wood, so there's this odd kind of knocking sound. And every time it knocks, the wine kind of shifts up and down in pitch, like they're reacting to their own stimulus, just a feedback loop of, this is bad. This is bad, and I do not know how to react to it.
And as you're doing this, you sense a presence as this woman sort of comes and kneels down, not too close to you. In fact, she keeps her distance. But you can smell like sweet, sweet honey as she's digging away at this wax seal, and she looks slightly cautious at you, but pushes this container towards you without saying anything at all.
And the head kind of lolls all the way back, and the hair kind of falls down, and then it lolls to the side, just searching for the scent. And they kind of look at the woman and kind of curl away a bit, and then see the jar. And there's that moment, that kind of feral cat moment of weighing up, kind of getting closer to someone, but food, but the risk, but food. There's that moment, and then they just kind of almost toddler-like fling themselves off the mast and just curl over this jar. And there is the very distinct and gross sound of someone actually like sticking their face into a jar and trying to kind of like
Yeah, you see her jump back, actually, a little.
It's not dignified in any way. It's so terrible.
And you can hear the men's voices as they walk about, and you think you can hear Obian's voice, and like that slap as you think they're trying to like take his face and wake him. You hear like no, as this is that deep voice that you recognized from your last ship sort of rattles in his chest.
And there's a moment of kind of like where the noise stops and everything stops, and Xeraxes is kind of frozen in this weird little kind of ball hunch over this jar of honey. And then there's that great unfolding where they rock back onto their feet and kind of unfold, right, the spine just uncurling until they're upright. And they've still got this jar held, like almost like they're worried it's going to be taken away, like close to their chest.
Yeah, she's like, keep it, it's yours.
And they totally ignore her, and they're looking around for the source of this sound, like they recognize that this kind of Obian came with them, so that's a person they need to kind of look for, and they're just kind of like darting around. When they see Obian, they'll kind of again kind of look at the honey and look up, and they'll just stick like their whole hand in the jar while walking over to Obian and kind of not shouldering people out the way because they pull away from the touch, but because they're just so tall and strange, there's an almost kind of parting of the waves where people are like, oh, what are you doing? Okay. So they kind of make their way over to Obian, and then they just pull this honey-drenched hand out of the jar and kind of hold it vaguely over Obian's mouth.
Yeah, Obian seems to be very out of it, but there is some honey that drips when it sort of elongates all the way down before touching his lip. And a couple of droplets of honey fall there. And you see that he licks his lips. And the other men just sort of let you do this. There's two with Obian. And it's almost like they're like, it's your friend. He seems to be alive. They've propped him up against like a sack. And he seems to be, his eyes are closed and he's murmuring to himself as he licks like this honey off of his very dry, salt-cracked lips.
And the hand just kind of, after a couple of drops have fallen, the hand just comes back and Xeraxes just start like licking it clean in those massive, just like not caring at all, just big sweeps as they just clean their hand, kind of watching Obian, not looking at their hand at all, just watching this.
And the lady is behind you again, but not close. But you hear her voice. She says, "Your friend is downstairs. If you want to join them for some rest." You can see she seems she's not nervous by you. She's just being very cautious. She's trying to make you comfortable and not freak you out.
And their head snaps around again, and it's that awful, you can hear the pop as it happens. It is audible and just strange, and their head just twists and goes closer, like they're actually seeing her now. Before it was just a voice and some food, so now they're actually looking at her, and there's a sense of almost like they're looking at the back of her head from the front. It's not really looking into their eyes, it's like looking just past their eyes, and they kind of lean in.
You feel them lean back, just like an almost check to see if you're looking behind them.
And there's, this hand, which is half cleaned of honey, is still like held there, and the jar is still tucked in their chest, and they just kind of tilt. I went down in the night, but it was close and tight, and the Earth Shaker looked at me. But we lost them. We have to find them. It's coming, and we need them to open their eyes. The woman, where's the woman? And just like the hand is like moving forward, but always like about like 2 inches short of touching, and there's just honey dropping onto the deck.
What woman is it you're looking for?
The book, the blue, the net. We lost them. We, not all of them. We need the place where the dead reach for the sky and navigate by the stars, but we lost them. And every time they say we lost them, it lifts and it's aggressive, and then it sinks back down into confusion again.
And you see her stand there very confused, but she sort of just says again, if you wish to rest and get out of this heat, there is space for you downstairs. And she sort of looks around for a second, and it's not near the water. You won't see it down there. Just sort of checking, sort of realizing from your reaction to the mast and everything.
And there's a beat where they just freeze. And then there's a nod. And then there's almost like a tilt again, like they're tilting away from the water. They say, do you have fish?
Yes, and she literally just points over and gestures to these huge barrels that are just piled up, and you can see a few on the deck where they've hauled in the nets, and you can see some squid, some octopus, and things like that have probably come up, but it's not the fish that they have been there to catch.
Zaraxes, with honey in one hand, will just kind of walk over and just grab a squid by a tentacle. Not even like lifting it up, just dragging it across the deck and walking back over to the woman and kind of waiting for her. Like, I'm here, let's go.
This way. You can see some of the men are just watching, and some of them have just gone back to work hauling in the nets. And she leads you down. You feel that creak of the planks of the wood on the wooden steps as she leads you down into this cabin. Cosimo, what are you doing at the moment as these two enter the cabin?
I think that she is actually probably resting and trying to recoup some of her spent mechanical aids. So I would pretty please like to roll to recover my spent points. I think it's a D6, right?
It is a D6.
Do I need to declare what pool I'm rolling for, or does it?
No, just put it to whichever one you're going for.
I'm gonna boost back up my mic,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll come for intellect. Do I have time to also roll for intellect as a 10
I would say yes. Like, there's going to be a lot of time on this thing. So,
okay. 11. Can you split it across pools, or is it like one for each specific?
I don't mind. It's normally down to the whatever, because I think you don't always spend that much in a pool. So if you want to split them across pools, go for it.
Great, because I have enough to get all the way back up now.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. And
so yeah, she's resting. She has kind of a hand maybe on the cat, just idly stroking it, trying to rest. And maybe she has like a wet rag like across her eyes, trying to leach out some of that heat from the sun. Even though she didn't burn, it was still like an intensely...
Oh, you can feel it. Like, you touch your skin and you can feel it.
And she's just down there listening, but not really aware. Trying to, I think, also hang on to the voice of her husband and ignore the strange message it was giving her because it wasn't very useful. And she knows this is tied into Hestia and to Marcus and to what's going on with Xyraxis and everything. But she can't deal with that right now, so she's just clinging on to the fact that she heard his voice again and she was certain it was his voice. So I think that's something that was maybe fading from her mind, was like these little details of exactly how someone sounds.
And in your head, you do hear, it's more like of a memory of your husband's voice and the words you think you can hear, and the ocean sort of lapping up against the side of this cabin. And Xyraxis, you walk down, led by this woman. And there's about 3 or 4 beds down here and a table and chairs. This is quite big.
Xyraxis will, as soon as they have Cosima within eyeline, they will completely ignore the woman they're following and just walk straight over to Cosima and kind of stop by the bedside. Like they're not sure what happens next. And then we'll just pick up the squid and kind of hold it out.
I think Cosima's nose wrinkles. It's just visible under that rag. And it smells obviously fresh of the sea because it's been hauled up today, I imagine.
Oh yeah, this was probably one of the nets that they were pulling just before they found you.
She's tired and she pulls that away. And she's like face to face with this squid. Thank you, Xyraxis. But I prefer mine cooked.
You pulled me. I'm not ready to meet the Earthshaker or his brother. I did not want to go. You brought me. And then just pushes the squid again. It's like,
I think she'll take the hand off the cat and just take the squid. You are the messenger, Xyraxis. In your own way.
the messenger, the traveler, we lost them.
I know.
We've and there's that one of those moments of just looking so young and so confused, and they just lean in almost, in that curl of, child who does not know how to ask the question they're asking, and just almost doesn't really look at her, just kind of looks near her and just leans in. Did we fail? Did we fail?
No. And we'll find them again.
We will find them. And just kind of retreats, kind of taking, and it's a weird feeling because you can look at them and know that they are absolutely taking your words on faith. It is now truth to them. Like the shoulders drop and they believe.
I don't think Cosmo believed it until it came out of her mouth. And then she realized that she also believes that they are still out there somewhere and that we're going to find them. And I'm imagining what I was given was like one of those baby squid, like the little calamari squid.
Yeah.
And she's going to dangle it for the cat because the cat's probably going to enjoy it more than she is right now.
This cat sort of lifts its head, wrinkles its nose a little bit, and then just starts to bat. Doesn't actually eat it or anything like that, but is just batting at this squid. And after a while, this woman comes back down. You realize at one point she disappeared to get something, and she comes back down with like a pewter sort of jug and two goblets. She said, well, your friends seem to like it, and I think it's going to help with the pain. And she sort of holds one out to Cosima. And you can smell like these spices in this dense red wine. And the same for you, Zeraxes. And you can, again, this pewter jug is put down on the table, and the woman just quickly looks at the dressing on your leg, Cosima. But you both need to rest.
Is she offering us both goblets, or?
She does. She offers you both, and if you don't take, she's aware that you don't seem to like touch. So again, she puts it on the table, sort of closer to you. But you can tell she doesn't really want to get super close because she's not too sure what you're going to do.
Zeraxes will probably look at the goblets and look at the picture, and will pick up the pitcher and just start drinking it. Like the whole thing.
Yep.
Dionysus.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she
just
still
says... holding a jar of honey, so it's like picking up this Oh, actually, I have a... like picking up this massive pitcher, just like with the jar of honey still like there.
And you can hear the woman just like, I knew you're a follower of Dionysus. Just like muttering under her breath as she just start downing this wine. And as she looks to you, Cosima, she puts it on the, if you don't take it, she'll put it on like the side.
I think she would take it and give like a small apologetic half eye roll towards Zeraxes.
And she sort of shakes her head as if like, it's fine. And
Cosima. Realizing that hasn't been introductions.
Yeah, no, she's like, Kessa, if I would have liked to have met in better circumstances, but...
Does she appear Greek, Egyptian? I imagine we're speaking in Greek, but...
yeah, you're speaking in Greek. She seems to be probably more Egyptian than anything, but you can assume from being on the seas and living at port that she would know Greek, as well as probably some other languages as well. You can hear an accent, but you're not too sure where it's from. If you haven't traveled to Egypt before, then you might not recognize it.
I don't think Cosima has traveled that far. She may have heard it from other sailors and people maybe that her father knew, but she has definitely not been to Egypt before herself.
You might have met a few at port, so like the accent will ring like familiar to you. But that's probably it. And she's like, yes, Kessa and my husband, Seb, was the one that pulled you aboard.
Egyptian?
Yes. We have lived in Memphis almost all our lives.
The fishing is so good here.
It's not too bad. I feel it's fading. We are not sure why. This is why we are out this far, looking for away from all the other fishing boats.
It is a trouble that besets my home too. The seas are turning.
And there's a muffled kind of noise from
Really
where Zeraxes is downing the drink. Just like they're trying to contribute something, but will not stop drinking to do so. So it's just kind of like,
yeah, you can hear like that glug as Zeraxes is just downing this wine, and sort of Kessa looks over and says, I may have to get some more of that. They seem to like it. Is it to your taste, or would you like something else?
It is fine. Thank you.
I am glad. I will bring some food, but please drink. It will help with the pain. And she stands, and as Zeraxes puts the pewter down, she quickly just pours what was in the goblet into the pewter jug for you and backs away.
Yeah, they drink the rest of it.
Yeah.
Cosima's gonna swallow down most of it, but as she gets to the bottom, and maybe there's a few like herby bits kind of still floating around in there, a few spicy, I don't know, ephemeral bits.
Yeah.
I think she's gonna look at it more and swell it more and try and figure out what exactly is in here. And I don't know, because everything is so strange at the moment. She's always looking for a sign, like reading tea leaves or reading spices. Just
as you do this, you can smell all these different spices and something else. Your head seems foggy. You seem tired. Your eyes are so heavy right now. And so are Zyraxes. As Kessa stands by the stairs, emptying out her own goblet onto the floor. And you both feel like a dead weight. And after drinking a whole jug full, and Cosima, you look over to the side and you see Zyraxes just almost completely flump in their seat, and that crash as this pewter jug hits the ground and rolls around the wooden floor. And
they was. Sorry, go on.
Kessa walks over to you, Cosima, and holds you by your shoulders. Now sleep. Okay. And she starts to lower you down onto the bed, and you feel almost like paralyzed and a dead weight. We have to look after our precious cargo, don't we?
I feel like Cosima's hand is reaching for that quartz object. And I think her fingers find it and she manages to get a grasp on it, but she's so tired. She can't bring herself to do anything. She just has a grasp on that quartz object.
And as your hand moves, you do get it. She's like, shh, shh, shh. It's okay. And you hear the cat sort of stand up, jump up, sort of walk over by your chest. And the last thing you hear before you black out is a hiss. And that is where we will leave Realm of the Ancients this week.
My snakes are just not happy right now.
They're just there like, why?
Like there's just like a lump of person and then just this angry, writhing mess of, why did you drink the thing, you idiot? They're not happy.
But yes,
so that's gonna be fun.
Everything's fine. It's all good. But
oh man.
What we will do now is we will head round, say where we can find you, plug yourself, and also the usual, if you had a favourite bit or a favourite moment or something from this. So we will start with Cosima, the lovely Charlie.
Hello. I'm going to start with my favourite bit because otherwise I'll forget. I think my favourite bit, I really enjoyed the fight with the Hydra. I really enjoyed how Shake came up with such a cool way for Zyraxes to abstract themselves and become this monstrous being and take part in that fight, and how I'm pretty sure I knew like from the start we were destined to go in that water and it was kind of an inevitable conclusion. But I like that the characters did what they needed to do to keep that fight going as long as they could. And that was super cool. And I always appreciate how you create these strange, surreal, ethereal moments, Alice. Kind of somewhere between nightmares and dreams and aliens.
I can't get rid of the Call of Cthulhu, apparently.
I had that moment when you were describing the giant statue under the water where I was thinking of Gris. That was called Gris.
Oh, yeah.
The statue,
I love that. I love the look of that game.
Really amazing. Tool School did a really good playthrough.
Yeah, that was fun to watch.
One half better than Storm, for anyone who's watching. I'm at Frost from Fire, and I've been really enjoying this Cypher game. And coming up for the rest of my week, tomorrow I am playing Invisible Sun over on Tales from the Grim. I think that's going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern, which is 1 a.m. UK, and all the other time zones around that. It's a really cool game. We're going to a speed dating night hosted by one of the long lost Bee Gees. So that's the thing that's happening. And then on Sunday, we have the launch of a brand new show that I am DMing over on WebDM's channel called The Lost Girls. It's vampires, it's the 80s, and it's also Cypher. So if you've enjoyed how this game goes, same system being used over there on Sunday. As for everything else, it's in the pinned tweet. I will be back here on Thursday once more for Realm of the Ancients, and I'm very, very excited. That's so good.
Awesome, thank you. And last but not least, Shakes, or as we know, is that Zyraxes, the crazy one that hates water and loves honey.
Yep, not pulling from life at all there. No, so I am Shakespeare. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at same handle, Shakespeare. This is the only TTRPG I am playing now for a while, as far as I know, unless things come up, in which case check my Twitter. And let me think, the favorite bit, probably Cosima going just all like first aid on my chest, just like I'm just going to tap dance on your chest. I've probably broken a rib. That was amazing. But I really enjoyed punching a Hydra in the eye. That was so good. And I've been really looking forward to using that ability, because when I first decided I wanted to basically play a Maynard, one of the things I really was interested in was the fact that they are supposed to have torn people like limb from limb with their bare hands. And when I saw the sculpt flesh ability, I was like, oh, I could actually do that to some degree. So I was really excited to use that and kind of push the more kind of not inhuman, but almost inhumane aspects of having a god-touched character, and how, you know, being blessed is not necessarily the greatest thing. I am
very thin line between angel and demon.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I was also just so like on the edge of my seat with that statue, because my brain was just going, oh my god, it's a god, oh my god, literally, it's a god. Because Zyraxes fully believes that was Poseidon. But he went so far down, he met Poseidon. He fully believes that. But no, it was just a really great game. I'm so happy with how the combat went now that I actually know how to vaguely do things with this system, because I'm completely new to it. So it's a whole new learning curve, and it's really, really almost intuitive once you know what the things are. It's just like, oh, that's actually really, really simple. It's just the sheet looks very intimidating.
Oh, the sheet is intimidating when you set it up, all of it, but
yeah.
It is actually an incredibly easy roleplay heavy system.
It is,
That's
and
my favorite.
I also have to say that I think, given that we are down 2 people, I think Alice did an incredible job at making the storyline cohesive and always kind of including them and bringing it back to where the fuck are they, without it being kind of like, oh well, they're not here, they'll be back soon, you know, kind of nudge wink wink.
Disappeared. I've got plans.
It's a genuine kind of mystery, and just bringing it back and letting us dwell on the fact that we've lost people, which is always good. I'm also
Always
very happy the
reminding
cat
us-
survived.
Yes. And always reminding us never to trust anyone in one of Alice's games.
Yeah.
Including the other players at the table, by the way, Shakes, just to warn you.
Yeah. Because literally
Zyraxes doesn't trust anything except that they trust everything. It's a very, very weird dichotomy to play, because they don't believe anything. Like, they have to convince themselves that things are real, but then someone will say something to them as a certainty, and it is suddenly bedrock to them. Like, you could, if someone told them in the right way that the sky was aubergine, they would go, yep, okay. And that would be bedrock then. It's just like, that is true. It's so fun to play as just mad characters. I love it.
Right. Okay, then that's just me. I am White Rabbit Pick. That's where you can find me on Twitter. I am a photographer, and you can head over there and see some of my stuff and see my website. But when I'm not doing that, I am a DM and a player on the Scraticus Academy. I DM Eberron, Realm of the Ancients, and I also DM our Dragon Age campaign. I am also in 2 campaigns over on Tales of the Grim. I'm in another Cypher system game. I'm in Highlander, where I will be playing a Celt, currently in the 80s, but yes, I can't say too much about my character there. And I'm also in the Lady Blackbird campaign, which is so much fun. But yes, we are going to head over to the wonderful WebDM because we love them so much. But before that, just a few things. Check out our Discord. It's full of wonderful people like the 2 you see here today, and we all talk TTRPGs and D&D, etc., etc. So head over there and join the family. Twitter, if you want to get into a game, drop Scrat a DM on Twitter. We've got 5 viewer games, and if you like the look of this system, one of them is Cypher, so definitely go and check it out. This will be up on YouTube very soon, and if you haven't seen the others before this, they are in playlist form, so you can go and binge them before you check out this one. We are also full-time now, thanks to you lovely people, and ways to support us is via Patreon. We also have some free articles on there from the wonderful Renee, who I adore, but also we have merch on Redbubble, where that shield goes on anything and everything, and apparently including bed sheets and skirts and you name it.
I need leggings.
Yeah, Scrat wants the leggings.
Yep.
Scrat wants the leggings.
What it's gonna they always put it on like the side though, and I want it to be like Scraticus Academy instead of like Juicy.
Yeah, no,
it's always on the side.
Like the shield you get on like the inner thigh. Like it's really like, I think Scrat's now like, I can stand, you know, in that heroic pose.
Yep.
So I'll just, yeah, no. But anyway, we also have some wonderful sponsors in the form of Bird in the Storm, who you know from the channel is our very wonderful tool school, and also Bird vs. Plane. We are doing secret stuff, which I'm excited for, which is coming in season 3. And also Mage Hand Press, who created the Dark Matter Alpha, which you would have seen in Argo 37, which I ran last season, and also completely legitimate business this season, run by a wonderful love Lindy. So definitely check them out as well.
They just released an update actually on that with I think character sheets coming. They've updated some of the mechanics. I think
they've got a lot coming, I think.
Well,
yeah,
I forget what it's called, but yeah.
And I know they've got all their merch and everything that's on Redbubble at the moment as well, and I'm pretty sure there's more of that coming as well. So yes, we are going to go and head over to WebDM. So head over there, send them all the love, let them know where you came from, and let's go and support them in the stream they are on at the moment. So other than that, keep evoking emotions, guys, and we will see you in an hour for our last stream of the evening. And yep, my snakes are not happy right now.
Not happy right now.
Awake cry. So see you later, everyone. Bye.